What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having an amazing day. Today I've got for you 4 fantastic revenge stories. So sit back, relax, make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Let's go. I found out my boyfriend had a wife. Revenge story. So, as the title says, I once found out that my boyfriend had a wife and was not indeed separated from her and getting divorced as he said. I found out because his wife messaged me. Apparently, it's not the first time he's pulled this BS either. So, I came up with a petty revenge plan that I think was iconic. We called it the Mambo number 5 plan. I created several fake accounts using different phone numbers from virtual eSIMs and messaged him from multiple platforms to make it look like he had a different method of communicating for each girl to keep them separate. I.e., he'd talk to Rita on Insta, Monica on Facebook, etc. And the messages sent were a version of the lyrics from Mambo number 5 by Lou Bega. Here is what they were. Monica, I need you in my life. Erica, felt so good when you effed me sideways. Rita, you're all I need to be happy. Tina, I know it's complicated, but I only have eyes for you. From Sandra, I miss seeing you in the gym. Why don't you train anymore? I hope it's not because of our post-workout sub-sessions together. Mary, when you coming for another sleepover? And finally, Jessica, I'm here if you need to talk. I tried to stick closely to the original lyrics. Toxic as F, Mambo number 5, just like the original. I sent them in a mixed up order too, and he never cottoned on that someone was messing with him. I let his wife know what I was up to, and we took it in turns over a few weeks to discover these messages. The look of fear when I'd asked to use his phone for different reasons was priceless. Then, after a few weeks of fun making his life heck, and she'd sorted out her affairs and got a lawyer, we both dumped his cheating butt. It was petty, I know, but my inner feminist is still happy at using that misogynistic song to take revenge on one. Well, pretty tough for everyone involved there, really. You probably think you're having a great relationship with your boyfriend. No, turns out he's still just lying to you and always has been. And actually hasn't divorced his wife, is still very much married. That is just brutal. But to be honest, if anything, I feel worse for his actual wife. She doesn't know about this at all, but hey, you talk about phenomenal revenge stories and just, turning adversity into such a victory. The fact that you two put aside your differences, actually thought, you know what, we're almost in this together. Let's team up and destroy this guy in the funniest way possible. And by the way, it's a legendary song, Mambo number 5. To be honest, I never really thought about it in a misogynistic way. That does make a lot of sense. I probably should have realized that. The song's good though, the tune, and yeah, completely destroyed this bloke with it. Phenomenal to see. I want to destroy his life for cheating. In July, my ex-fiance announced that he wanted a break to focus on himself. I was sad, but tried being understanding while he stayed at his friend's house most nights the next couple of weeks. He left a random mess next to his gym bag. Clothes, papers, miscellaneous. Clothes, papers, miscellaneous. I started cleaning it up when I noticed a paper with handwriting on it. It was a love note from some random girl. At the end, the note said, Heart Maddie. So I posted a picture with the note and my ex in a Facebook group that exposes cheaters. His family, co-workers, friends, and mystery woman all saw and commented about how trashy he is. Well, it turns out that she is a co-worker he met at a job he started a couple of months before. He never mentioned me. I told the other girl literally about all his shortcomings, how he love bombs the first few months, then it all stops, how he finishes in 2 strokes, but doesn't care if you do. However, half his checks go towards his truck, and he won't help with rent because the rest of his money goes towards his dirt bike. We both end up dumping his butt. She's a young party girl who's popular and ends up talking lots of trash about him to all his co-workers. This even travels to his last workplace where he was a supervisor. People at his parents' church tell them they're disappointed in him. For a guy who really tries hard at looking good, this has hurt his ego, but I feel like he still deserves worse. So, we're at the end of October. I'd moved out on my own and I was minding my own business. He texted me a sad sounding message and mentioned filing for bankruptcy, trying to get sympathy or someone to talk to, I suppose. I ignored his message and had sex with someone else for the first time. I hate being mean, but I am good at it when someone hurts me. I record a video of me flushing the ring down the toilet. I message my ex back with the vid, tell him that I'm screwing someone else, and a sexy selfie as well. When we first broke up, I was £160. I wanted him to see my new £125 body, and I got a significant pay rise, so I'm feeling confident. He was obviously upset, but I feel like he brought all of this on himself. As far as I know, he's miserable right now. He's still binge watching 7 episodes a night of the same show. He finished NCIS series from beginning to finish since I moved out. I feel like I have my revenge. I hope he never cheats on someone else again with this lesson. Honestly, I was so trusting, and I feel like it doesn't compare to the pain that I felt from the betrayal. Okay, so there we go. That is our second revenge. Okay, so there we go. That is our second cheating revenge story of today's episode done. That's the last we'll hear of cheating in this one. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but goodness me. This one, to be honest, was even worse than the first one, potentially. I just don't really understand. Why can't these people just be honest? Just break up with someone. You are allowed to break up with people if you're not feeling it. That's completely fine. Like, if you don't have to be with somebody. They're just too much of a, I don't know, what'd you say? Like, female cat or just cat in general? You guys probably know the word that I'm going for. Rhymes with cussy or cussy. Yeah, just allow me on that one. Just like that. He's an absolute pussy, all right? There you go, I've said it. Just own it, man. Just own it. Just break up with someone and say, it's not for me. I like someone else more. That's fine. You're allowed to do that, but you're not allowed to do this. It's so immoral and just ridiculous. But yeah, if anything, the only thing I would say, other than the revenge, would be should have sold the ring, not flush it down the toilet and just kept the money. At least that way you'd have some cash from it. The good thing is, though, that his entire family knows. That is the one thing that I feel like cheaters often do get away with. They cheat, the relationship then obviously breaks down. The person who's been cheated on is left completely devastated. But then the cheater's family and friends are still supporting them because they're not... But then the cheater's family and friends are still supporting them because they don't know the truth. The cheater hasn't told them the truth. You're not going to tell them the truth. So they're kind of still just in a good spot despite doing a terrible thing. Whereas in this situation, his entire family knows, all his friends know. That is great. That's how it should be for doing something so horrible. Now for our third revenge story of this episode. Don't ruin my weekend. So 2 years ago, me and a group of friends rented a condo in a popular tourist town for a long weekend. We paid a pretty penny, but the location was perfect for our needs. When we got there, the building and condo were both pretty underwhelming, but we didn't care. It was just a place to sleep, and we wouldn't be spending much time there. When I say underwhelming, I really mean the building was unsafe. The exterior egress stairwells had sections rotted through, loose railings, you name it. Not long after checking in and getting settled, we were able to figure out that this place was going to be a problem. The Karen neighbour upstairs demanded we move a vehicle from the unloading zone because it had been there for too long. It had been there for 20 minutes. We were still unloading food. She was quick to inform us that she was the president of the COA, and if we step out of line again, she will have us removed without a refund. Right after this, a black pickup truck pulled up and she beelined to talk to the driver who never got out of his vehicle. Later that afternoon, another group checked into the condo next to us, but Karen wasn't there when they checked in, so they didn't get the same uppity treatment. Our group left to go out to dinner and ended up staying out pretty late. When we got back, everything was quiet and we were lights out not too long after. The next day, the condo next to us is already getting after it pretty early. This is a pretty busy weekend in this particular town, and they definitely have other friends in town too. They're barbecuing, swimming, loud music, really not bothering us though. We keep noticing that black pickup driving by almost hourly. We assume he's probably a local that lives in the neighbourhood, and we don't think anything of it. We go out again for dinner and head back to the condo to grab a pre-game beer or two before going out for the night, and it's a madhouse. The condo next to us is having a party that is spilled into every open space on the property. We go into our condo, lock the doors, and we snap a few pictures and videos in case we have to show our host that we were not involved. As we are sitting in our condo finishing our beers before we head out, no music on, just football on TV, the door slams open and we're greeted with the screaming, "What the F are you jerks doing?" from a guy that barges in, key in hand, with Karen watching from outside the door. We immediately spring up, ready for a fight. We don't know this guy, and at first thought he was with the party and broke down our door. He then identifies himself as the host, the condo owner, and again starts screaming at us. As it turns out, Karen told him we were hosting this large party, not bothering to take notice that it was the condo next to us. She piggybacks off of him, screaming at us that we're destroying the condo and need to leave. We ask them to step outside and we'll come out to talk numerous times, all while we're now recording, but they both refuse, just repeating, "Get the F out, leave," at us. So we call the cops. When he realizes that my one friend is on the phone with the dispatcher, the owner catches some post-yelling, "Nut clarity," and reality smacks him. He begs for my friend to hang up, but he refuses. He immediately changes his tone and yells at Karen to go back upstairs to her unit. The police show up, a few cars since the initial call was for someone who was irate and forced their way into our condo. They see right away what's going on, break up the large party, and ask us nicely if we can work things out with our host, who at this point has pulled a full 180 and is trying to smooth everything over. At this point, we realize that the black pickup belongs to our host, and he tells us the reason he was driving by almost hourly was that Karen kept calling him complaining about us. This whole time, Karen's out on her balcony chirping, saying we were doing stuff that we weren't, citing COA violations, definitely half shot in the butt herself. We inform our host that we're going to vacate and handle the issue through the third party we booked through. He doesn't like this and is trying to hide his rage while being nice in front of the officers that are still there. He insists if we vacate, we won't be entitled to any refunds and all the usual BS they say when they know they're wrong. We show him the rental contract that says the owner can't enter the condo except for certain exemptions that don't apply. So we round up our stuff and we check into a motel that the third party's customer service found for us. Revenge had to be doled out here. I just couldn't let it go. So I sit down and I do it the right way. What the condo owner and Karen didn't know is that I used to work in this town when I was younger. Or should I say I worked for the town. Specifically doing code enforcement, building fire subcode, fire safety and local ordinance. I filed a complaint with the town against the COA that was to this day one of the longest they've ever seen. The inspector went out and actually red tagged the property, making it uninhabitable until repairs are made for some of the worst violations. In total, the COA had to spend over $70,000 to fix their violations, in addition to the cost of the penalties and fines and reapplying for their license to rent. It cleaned out their coffers and each unit had to shell out cash. There was a rumour that Karen was investigated for stealing from the COA, but I never heard if it went anywhere. Oh, and the third party app fully refunded us. If you're going to be a jerk, you're going to pay for it. Wow, that's like the biggest U-turn I've ever seen from the landlord, from the owner of this property. I'm not entirely sure. You guys comment down below. What do you think about the owner? Are they a good guy or a bad guy? Are they just having to deal with the Karen and that's why they're coming through every single hour? And it was Karen calling him that made him burst into the property, his property. And then he quickly realized that actually, no, what is going on here wasn't what Karen said and he'd actually got it wrong or at least been told the wrong information. And that's why he kind of 180'd so quickly. Or did he 180 so quickly because he knew he was in the wrong, was just trying to get you out of there as quickly as possible for no refund, and then you weren't going to hang up on the police? I think, to be honest, I'm leaning towards the latter, but yeah, you guys let me know what you think there. I will just say, though, to OP and your pals, well done for sticking up for yourself and not just being forced out of this property and you know, against your will, just being like, well, there's nothing we can do about it, might as well go. No, well done. And also well done to the third party booking company that you went through for helping you out there as well. That's good to see. But yeah, comment down below. What do you think? And now moving on to our final story of this episode. eBay mishandling stolen equipment, or don't mess with the postal inspectors. I work with a company that times races, running, cycling, triathlon, etc. The owner is a guy named John who works at Race Time & Co., both made up names. At a race, some equipment was stolen. It's expensive equipment and extremely specialized. Maybe 200 people in the US use this system, and the components cost about $1,000 each for a total of about $4,000 US. About a month later, the stolen equipment popped up on eBay. John reached out to the seller via eBay and asked that his stolen equipment be returned. The seller was a jerk, as might be expected from someone selling stolen equipment would be. He said, "There's no way you know it's your equipment." The thing is, photo number 3 showed one of the boxes with a printed label on it, Racing Time Co., with John's name and John's phone number. It literally had his name on it. So, John escalated to eBay to at least prevent his stolen equipment from being sold. eBay totally dropped the ball. They bought the seller's story that he'd bought it at a mail auction for lost mail, which made no sense since the seller's info was in the same town where the equipment was stolen. The seller also tried to claim that John had no way of proving that it was his stolen equipment, except it had his name and phone number on it. John had no evidence that the seller hadn't bought it at a mail auction and ruled against John. So John hatched a plan. He did what any rational person would do. He purchased his own stolen equipment back using an employee's name and asked that it be shipped USPS. He was right next to a post office, he said. And that's when the prorevenge comes into play. It's a felony to knowingly traffic stolen items. So John waited patiently as his equipment was marked shipped and ended up arriving at his co-worker's house in another state for good measure. And John called the Postal Inspection Service. He had the seller's full name, address, and proof that he knew it was stolen. He had police reports, pictures of his name on the equipment, matching serial numbers, transcripts of him informing the seller that it was stolen, and more. The USPS inspectors knocked on the guy's door 2 days later and reportedly found numerous stolen items. He was charged with almost a dozen federal felonies, including felony theft, trafficking stolen goods across state lines, and lying to federal agents. And to top it off, John filed a stolen goods complaint with eBay since he now had tons of proof that he'd been sold stolen goods. So he got his money back, minus shipping. Very, very nice indeed. A great revenge story to end today's episode. All I've got to say is this seller is so dumb. And to be honest, I am very confident that they are the person that stole this stuff in the first place. Like normally, if you would steal stuff, you would then try and sell it on and get away from it as quickly as possible. But I feel like the stupidity that we've seen from this seller leads me to believe that they just don't understand that as a concept and are just happy enough selling something they've stolen with all their real name, real address, etc. and are just too idiotic to understand that obviously if you have someone else's name on it, it's probably not going to be yours, or at least it's going to look like it isn't yours because it isn't yours. It just makes no sense. And just in case some of you were wondering if this story was real or not, the fact that you've lost the shipping proves that it's real. Typical eBay. I mean, they just give you nothing. I also, the fact that they sided with the seller here when it was just so obviously not the property of the seller is crazy. I do genuinely believe that eBay is a good website, and I know that my dad, for example, loves it and sells a lot of stuff on there, and he thinks it's great. But this is weird. Really, really weird. And eBay, if you're watching, have a long, hard look at yourself. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want more revenge stories right away, check out this episode on screen or click the link down below for a playlist of all my revenge stories. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe for daily content like this, and I'll catch you tomorrow for some more.